pleased to be here today, and thank you for all of you attending this webinar. And if you have any questions, please hold them to the end, and you can put them up on the chat, and I'll go through them and I'll answer them for you. So first, I just want to mention a little bit about myself. I'm a professor of biology in the Faculty of Science here at the University of Waterloo, and I'm also the Assistant Vice President in Graduate Studies and Postdoctoral Affairs. And so as part of my role in GSPA, I'm here to talk to you today about our graduate programs at the University of Waterloo. But before we kind of get into our programs, I just want to let you know where Waterloo is located. It is located in the province of Ontario in a region that we call Southern Ontario. And it's about 1.5 hours west of Toronto. So you can fly into Toronto, and then there are opportunities of buses, other types of transportation that you can take directly to Waterloo and directly to the University of Waterloo. So in our region here and about the university is a fairly young institution. It was established in 1957, and it's become a leader in transformational research, entrepreneurship. We have lots of undergraduate and graduate students that create their own companies, and we're really well known for our innovation within Canada and globally. Currently, we have almost 6,000 graduate students, and about 40% of our graduate students are international. And we have really strong programs in engineering, math, computer science, recreation, and leisure. And this is just a little snapshot of our student building. Actually, if you go out there today, it's actually completely under construction because we are expanding this building, and there's going to be space in there for graduate students as well. So Waterloo's academic advantage. So as a graduate student, you'll benefit from some clear advantages at our institution. And the first one that I want to mention is that if you develop your own intellectual property at the University of Waterloo, that intellectual property is retained by you, by the researcher. And that is very different from many of our other institutions in Canada and around the world. We are a leader when it comes to experiential learning. We have very strong co-op programs at the undergraduate level, and we also have some co-op programs at the graduate level as well. We have innovative online graduate programs where you can take your graduate program from at home, sitting on your couch in your room. And we have an excellent reputation for academic excellence. We have award-winning faculty members, research chairs, and industry leaders. And within my own office, we have a very strong graduate professional skills program, which is Grad Venture, which can provide you with a lot of learning opportunities that you can then take on into your professional career, whether you go on to academia if you're getting a PhD, or whether you are moving on into the workforce. And of course, we can't not mention our most recent award winner, which is Dr. Donna Strickland. And you might have heard in the news last year that she received the Nobel Prize in Physics and is only the third woman in history to do so. And she is within the Faculty of Science, and I know her well. She's a wonderful, kind, and humble person. And we get to see her speak quite frequently here at the university. So I want to move on now and talk about some of our globally recognized programs. So Maclean's magazine is a national magazine within Canada, and it has ranked the University of Waterloo #1 as the most innovative university in Canada for 27 years. We are also known for being the second for best overall within Canada. We are second for the source of leaders of tomorrow, and we're the second for highest quality. When we look at the U.S. News and World Report, computer science and engineering, we are top in Canada for engineering and #2 in Canada for computer science. If we move on to the QS World University Rankings, we're 163rd, and we are in the top 50 for hospitality and leisure management, computer science, and mathematics. And then we have a number of other programs, graduate areas and research programs that are within the top 100, and this includes architecture, chemical engineering, civil and structural engineering, environmental studies, geography, material sciences, psychology, sports-related subjects, as well as statistics. We have over 180 master's and doctoral programs, and these fall within 6 faculties. So we have applied health sciences, which is where you would find your sports-related subjects. We have arts, which is social sciences and the humanities, and that's where psychology is located. Engineering, very strong engineering programs. This is also where architecture that I mentioned before is in the top 100 is located. And different from many other institutions, we also have a faculty of mathematics, and the School of Computer Science is included within that faculty. And last, we also have the Faculty of Science, which includes the Department of Physics, which has strong connections to the Perimeter Institute, which is a physics think tank also located in Waterloo region. We have 3 satellite campuses. Architecture, which is part of the Faculty of Engineering, is located in a nearby city called Cambridge, about a 45-minute drive. Our School of Pharmacy, which is in the Faculty of Science, and you can do graduate studies and research different types of medications and drugs and the impacts on diseases. You can do master's or PhD at the School of Pharmacy, and it's located in Kitchener, which we're getting a light rail in Kitchener-Waterloo region, and that'll be just a 10 to 15-minute drive on a light rail or in a car. And then we also have a Stratford campus where we have digital media technology and a very well-known undergraduate program there as well. We also have affiliated colleges that are associated and on the main campus, and these include Conrad Grebel, Renison University College, which has excellent English as a second language program. We have St. Jerome's University and St. Paul's University College as well. And here is the School of Pharmacy in downtown Kitchener. It is a beautiful, brand new building that is only about 10 years old. And the School of Pharmacy at the University of Waterloo was the first pharmacy school to be approved within Canada in the last 20 years. So what does it take to get into our university here? Here are some minimum overall academic standing that you might be interested in looking at. We have Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, Paraguay, Peru, and Uruguay. And these are the minimum overall academic standings that will be looked at for your application if you are applying to the University of Waterloo. We also have English language proficiency or ELP requirements. And these, as well as the academic requirements on the previous slide, can all be seen on our university web pages. Here, what you can see is we have standard, alternate lower, and alternate higher. And one of the things I want to note about these different English requirements is it can vary by department and it can vary by faculty. And so what you'll see if you go to the University of Waterloo and you're looking at our graduate programs, you'll want to take a close look at our departments and see what their criteria are for English language proficiency. In some engineering programs, they use the alternate lower. In most of the science programs, they use the standard. And so it's very important to take a look at the departmental requirements. Other additional requirements that may come up if you're looking to apply to the University of Waterloo, this can include the Graduate Record Examinations, or GRE, and they are required for some of our programs within mathematics, but also physics within science and also psychology. The Graduate Management Admission Test, GMAT, is required for an accounting PhD and a Master of Taxation. Other documents that you will need to obtain are reference letters, transcripts, supplementary information form, or a research proposal. You'll also have to include a resume and a writing sample. And these will all be things that you look at when you're applying for the applying at the University of Waterloo. So one of the big questions that I often get, not just from international students, but I also get these questions from domestic students here at the University of Waterloo, students that are coming from our own undergraduate programs. And it can be quite intimidating or scary to try to find your own supervisor. One of the things that I've already noted is that for a lot of the applications here at the University of Waterloo, you need to look at the departmental requirements. Some departments are going to ask for you to find a supervisor ahead of time. Other departments are not going to ask for that. For our professional coursework and our professional online programs, those don't require supervisors. But for our research-based master's and doctoral programs, you will either have to find a supervisor on your own, or once you start your graduate program here, you'll be able to find one. So what happens if you need to find a supervisor on your own? The best thing that you can do is reach out to someone whose research interests you and write them a letter and express why you're interested in their research. And you can also talk to them about perhaps you have a sponsorship from your own government. And those are important things to tell them as well as your grades. But probably the most important things that potential supervisors want to see is that you're showing enthusiasm for their research and that you're showing real interest in their research program. So it's really important that you spend some time, read up on the department that you're looking to apply to, and read up on the person that you would like to work with. You can visit the University of Waterloo Discover Graduate Studies and for additional tips on finding your supervisor. And that link is at the bottom of this slide here. The application process. Visit the University of Waterloo webpage, and you can go to uwaterloo.ca, Graduate Studies, and apply. And there is an online application and a $100 Canadian application fee. After that, you are going to be asked to create your Quest account, and this will ask you to provide some information, such as an email, your name. You'll then get an email that has instructions on how you are going to access Quest. And Quest is our University of Waterloo Student Information System. And at this point, you'll get a student ID number, which will be used on communication with you going forward. You'll then be required to upload your documents to Quest. Again, I've already noted these, transcripts, degree certificates, and there's also a mechanism within the application system where you can request letters of reference from people that you would like to use to talk about your academic capabilities. And when your application is complete, the academic unit, this could be the department, will review your file for admission. So the department, the school, the center, or the program will go through your application. If you need to find a supervisor, they may send you information and say, have you contacted a particular person? Or if they assign a supervisor after you're here, that information will be provided to you and it's included on the departmental webpage. So if we're looking at a research-based program and if the supervisor agrees to take you on as a research student, what'll happen then is there is approval by the supervisor, then approval within the department, and then it goes into the faculty associate dean's office. The important thing to note is that there's considerable variability across the University of Waterloo as to how applications are handled within departments. They can be individuals, they can be committees, and you can ask those questions to departmental graduate coordinators, and they'd be happy to address any questions or concerns that you have. After your application has been approved, it goes to the Associate Dean's office within one of the 6 faculties. And then if when it's approved at the associate dean level, it gets sent to Graduate Studies and Postdoctoral Affairs for review and final approval. And at that point, too, Graduate Studies and Postdoctoral Affairs reviews the application and verifies your admissibility. And it is the offer of letter comes from the GSPA, not from the supervisor and not from the department. So the most important thing to keep in mind is that you will get a letter from the university that notifies you that your application has been approved. Okay. So just finishing off here, I encourage you to take a look at University of Waterloo, Discover Graduate Studies. Look at the over 180 different graduate programs. We also have lots of information on our website about different programs, different opportunities that are available here at the University of Waterloo, including Grad Venture that I've already mentioned. And also take a look at our news events and follow our Twitter feed, and you can see some very interesting things and opportunities that our graduate students have had here at the University of Waterloo. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those now. You're welcome to put that within the chat, and I will answer those. Thank you very much. So the first question is, do you offer funding for the engineering department? So we have a large number of engineering departments, and typically if you are doing a research-based master's or a research-based PhD program within the Faculty of Engineering, there is funding that is provided for those research-based programs. And the funding can come from the supervisor, and there is also funding that is related to being a teaching assistant as well. For some of the course-based programs, there may not be funding, and that is why it's really important to check out the website and check out the program and ask questions about what are the levels of funding and what kind of funding is provided. So the next question is does the university collaborate with CONACYT in Mexico? So we work with Caldo, who is coordinating this webinar today, and Caldo has connections with CONACYT, and they can probably you can probably ask Caldo to answer a few questions on that. Next question is, do research PhD students have guaranteed funding, or do they have to find their own funding? So we have minimum funding levels at the University of Waterloo for all PhD students. So if you're coming in as a PhD, research-based PhD student, which is what all our programs are, the minimum funding that you would receive is just over 24,000 Canadian dollars. And that is a requirement. Some departments may choose to pay you more, but they cannot actually pay you less than 24,000. The next question is co-op programs in any master's degrees related to health. There is a master's, and I cannot recall it right offhand what the name of it is, but there is one program that's related to Masters in Health. When you go to that list of 180 programs, you can scroll down and see some are noted as co-op and some are noted as online. And then you can click on those and get some more information about the health programs that we have that are either online or co-op. So the next question is, do we have a plant science master's program or master's programs related to plant science, and do they have funding? Well, that's actually a question that's related to my own research area. And so as I noted, I'm within the Department of Biology. We do not have a botany department at the University of Waterloo, but we have a biology department. And we also have people that are doing research on plants within the Faculty of the Environment as well. Within biology, we have 4 or 5 researchers that are working on plants. And within the Department of Biology, we have minimum funding as well. In the Department of Biology, you would have to contact potential supervisors to see if they would be interested in you. But I also don't want to restrict you to just the Department of Biology. Check out engineering, check out the Faculty of the Environment. There's lots of people working on plants across campus that may not be in that traditional biology department that you might be interested in. And I have a question about the accounting program for the master's degree. I do not have specific information about that specific program. I'd recommend that you go in and take a look at the programs that we have in accounting, and that can answer your questions. Master's students, are they allowed to work in order to support personal expenditures? That is dependent on the student visa that you get to come to the University of Waterloo. And so those rules are regulated by the Canadian government. Okay, does the university offer a law program? We do not have a law program here at the University of Waterloo. We do not have a medical school either. So we happen to be one of the top universities in Canada, but those are two, we don't have a school of law or the medical school. So we probably have people that are researching about law, and that would be in political science, or another department is global governments. For the Masters of Applied Science, do you need to have research experience? Not necessarily. So not all students coming into master's programs have research experience. So if what you need to do in that particular case is contact, and for the Masters of Applied Science, that is typically an engineering program, I would reach out to the department to see what they're looking for. And if you're connecting with a potential supervisor, they may expect research experience, but in many cases, they understand that undergraduate students may not have had the opportunity to have research experience. Okay, and the next question is, would you say that the minimum funding is enough for a student to live, or is it just enough to pay for the program and research? So the funding that you receive as a graduate student does not go to your research. That is funding that goes to you to pay for your tuition and to pay for your living expenses. And it really depends on how you are going to live, and what kind of expenses that you're going to have. The graduate students that I'm familiar with in the Faculty of Science, it provides them with enough to live, but maybe not for tremendous amount of extras and things like that. But we are on par with other universities in Canada in terms of our minimum funding levels for PhD students. Okay, studied continuing education at U of C, and your first master's finished PhD line. Okay. Is this, okay, I'm not sure about, William, I'm not sure about your question here. If you would like to email me, you can find me on the university webpage, and maybe I can answer your question. It seems like it's a little bit of a longer one. Do we have a Master's of Applied Science scholarship for international students? That you would have to see on our international funding webpage. So when you go to future students, there is funding and scholarship information for domestic students or Canadian students. And then there's also funding for international students. And so there are probably a variety of programs that are available there. Okay, any other questions? And I certainly welcome that if you have additional questions or if I wasn't clear on something that I answered for you, you are welcome to send me an email and I will do my best to answer that for you. Okay, so good question. So the next one is when you find a professor for a Master's of Science in Engineering, do you need to show a research idea or will the professor guide you? So very typically, you will often sit down with your potential supervisor and they will provide you with a potential different option of research areas that fit within their research program. And so that's where I really encourage a conversation with a potential supervisor. And you want to be working on a project that's of interest to you, particularly if you're doing a master's or PhD. You're investing 2 to 4 years of your life into that program, and you want to be working on a project that engages you. And so you don't need to come with a research idea. You might just be interested in the research area that a person is working on and they can help you develop those ideas. But if you have an idea, I also encourage you to talk that over with that supervisor as well. Next question is, do we ask for publications to apply for a master's degree by the faculty or supervisor? So it is unusual. It is unusual to see students that actually have publications at the undergraduate level and then have them when they're applying to their master's program. So having a publication is an asset, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be rejected if you don't have one. Okay, hang on. I'm just going to type in my email here so that you can. Okay. So the next question is any help or special help for foreign families with kids? So we have a family health center here. So if you come here with your family and with your children, we do have a family health center that there are doctors there that can work with you and can address your health concerns. Say if your children need vaccines, they can go to that health office. There is also housing that is good for graduate students that come with families. If you come here with your children and with your partner, they can be covered under the University Health Insurance Plan, which is called UHIP. If you are a graduate student here at this university and you have a child, there is a parental bursary. So if you take a term or two off to have your child and spend time with your child, there is a parental bursary of $5,000 that you can apply for to our office, the GSPA. There's also a medical bursary, and there's also a daycare bursary where you can apply for a bursary to help offset the costs of daycare. And so all that information for families would be included on our website as well. Is it possible to apply to a PhD on languages? We have a number of language programs. German and Slavic is one that comes to mind, and also French. But I recommend that you look at our list of over 180 programs. And work experience, I believe I addressed that one earlier. It's not necessary to have work experience, but it could be advantageous on your application. But it really depends on the individual supervisor that's taking you on if you're going into a research program. So information about the price of the program for MBA, I don't have that at my fingertips right now. I recommend you go in and you look at the MBA programs that are listed, and they would give you an indication of what the cost is for those particular programs. All that information is included on our websites. Okay, other questions? And again, my email is there. Feel free to send me an email and I will get back to you. Okay, yep. So back to the publication question. If it's unusual to require publications from undergraduate students, does that take into account international students? Yes, it would. We understand that the opportunities for international students to publish in their field of choice may not be as available to them, and that would be considered in the application with a potential supervisor if you're going into a research-based program. Okay. I can see someone is typing. I'll wait for one more question and then we can end. Okay. So, that's a good question. If you presented at conferences, that is looked at on your application. So make sure that you're including your conferences on your application because that is research experience. And that is something that I really would include when you include your resume. And also talking about your thesis project. So if you did a research project where maybe you worked in a lab or you were a volunteer or you did an honors thesis project, include that information. The more information you include about the experiences that you've had either in your undergraduate degree or your master's degree will help give either the supervisor, the committee, the department a better idea about your research potential. And that's something we keep in mind about master's students is we're really talking about talking about potential. Having two bachelor's degree taken into account for the master's program, not generally the case, but if you have a specific question and what universities they are, you can send that information to me and I can ask our staff in this office here. But generally, if you're going into a PhD program, you generally need a master's. However, if you have a lot of research experience and you have really high grades, there are opportunities for direct entry PhD. And those are conversations that you would need to have with the department that you're applying to. Okay, I think we are done. I'd like to thank all of you for coming and listening to this webinar. And again, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I would be happy to answer them for you. Thank you very much.